Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild and Uncut podcast, brought to you by Ruger. I'm your host, Kristy Titus. Thank you for tuning in. The line is going hot, so let's go full send on this episode. Across America, freedom is more than a word. It's a way of life. Generations of grit rest in the hands of those who build, defend, and sustain. Crafted to endure, tested in the wild, and relied upon at home, the next generation of the Ruger American Rifle is a bold evolution of precision and rugged reliability for responsible owners, today and for generations to come. With OnX Hunt, those who wander are never lost. Public and private land ownership, offline functionality, and 3D mapping allow me to hunt with confidence. And the Elite membership comes included with draw odds and unit trends with hunt research tools, a membership to Hunt and Fool, plus a membership to Hunt Reminder to ensure you never miss a draw deadline. Download the OnX Hunt app and start your trial today. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wild and Uncut podcast. I'm your host, Kristy Titus, and we are here at the Mountain Region Endurance Conference in Colorado, and I'm here with three incredible women, me being the newbie to endurance, and I'm here with Julia Sugg, one of my endurance mentors, who has 1,000 miles, and then I have Jen Masters, which we went to one of her rides this year. She has over 4,000 miles, and then I have Linda Fisher here, who has 30,000 miles? 30,000 miles. I'm like a baby to this sport, so I am so excited to bring to my audience such an incredible breadth of experience to the endurance community, because there's so much talk on all of our Facebook pages of how are we going to bolster the sport, how do we get new people like me involved, and how do we infuse this invigorated life into endurance riding, because it's just the most spectacular thing to do. So I don't know, who wants to start? You're going to start. You're the most tenured. Tell us how you got started in endurance.
Well, way back when I was a kid in California, I wanted a horse. Finally, my folks got me a horse. I was 11. And back in those days, your mother could turn you loose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you didn't have any restrictions of where you went, except for, your boundaries were kind of unlimitless. And so I just started riding. And we were really poor. And so my father had a foundry in a commercial industrial area, and that's where I kept my horse. And my riding grounds was the local landfill. Mm-hmm. So I rode my horse all over that landfill. And back in those days, homeless people, I think, were called hobos. Mm-hmm. So I just had to outrun the hobos all the time.
Oh my gosh.
So then finally we moved to a better area, and it was unlimitless hills in between Riverside and Colton, where we lived, and there was some incredible steep mountains. And again, my mother turned me loose, and I could ride for 8 to 10 hours a day, and finally I'd show up for dinner again. But I just rode my horse, and that's how I started.
Was it an Arabian or what kind?
It was a Mustang.
A Mustang.
And then I got a quarter horse because an Arabian was way out of my budget. But the kid across the street had an Arabian stallion, so I borrowed my sister's quarter horse mare.
Oh, no.
And we started having half Arabs.
Those are good.
And believe me, they were the best.
They're good, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that cross.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun. Jen, how did you start riding?
I started riding when I was very young. I had a pony that thought it would buck me off all the time. And at first I was afraid because I knew when I saddled that pony I was going to get bucked off. And I was very, very small. And eventually it bucked me off so many times that I quit being afraid of it. And that led me to be a horse trainer for many years and start young horses and start horses for the track and all kinds of horses. And then I would fix problem horses, and I just rode many horses all day long. And I've done every sport you can do. I've done hunter jumper, I've done barrels, I've done halter, western pleasure, everything. And I just heard about endurance one time when I had an Arabian for sale. And a lady came and tried it out, and that's the first time I ever heard the word endurance. And I was like, what is that? What is... And I thought you had to be like a professional Olympic rider to do endurance. I didn't realize that you can be anybody with any horse and any tack, and there's no politics to it, because I ended up showing a lot. And I got really frustrated with how political and biased it was. Mm-hmm. And it's, you put in so much time and you don't even have a chance to do any good, because there's always somebody with more money, or, it was kind of a political money game, and this is not my thing. So I got invited much later to do an endurance ride, and I had my husband's team pinning horse, a Doc Barbred paint horse. And I rode in a western saddle and jeans. And I was doing a 25, and I got to mile 22, and I was sure I was going to die.
Yes.
And I thought, I cannot imagine only being half done, doing a 50.
Right.
And I did endurance for a long time. I really loved it, but I quickly ditched the jeans and the western saddle, and I got an Arabian. And I never got sick of it. I got sick of all the other things I did, but I just love it. That was 18 years ago.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I will interject, because my husband said when I was pregnant, well, you can't possibly ride while you're pregnant. You might hurt our child.
Yeah.
I'll do the ride. And I said, well, you've got to put some pantyhose under your jeans so you don't get a hole in your knees.
I got holes in my knees.
Yes. And so did he, but he put the pantyhose, but I can't come off, because if they have to cut these pants off of me, they'll see I have this.
Oh my gosh.
There's motivation.
Your husband's going to be mad at you for sharing that story.
Julia's husband's going through that right now, actually. He's trying to find pants to do endurance in, and he's rather humiliated, actually. Sorry, Andy.
If he wants to wear his
breechers.
jeans, he has to put pantyhose on underneath.
Well, I've got him committed to breeches. They arrived the other day. And he wore them around. He wore them. He works at home. He wore them all day at work in his office.
Yeah.
Good.
So breaking them in.
Honestly, if he were to show up in jeans, he'd be the only man there in jeans.
Right.
No, Chris rode in jeans.
He did, didn't
he? He wore jeans at your race.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Yes.
And a cowboy hat.
Yes, he did.
But he rides
30 miles all the time
in
jeans.
Like chasing cows.
But that's one good thing about endurance. You don't have to have an expensive outfit.
No.
You don't have to
wear
have
anything you want.
I wear leggings and my sports bras.
Dave Rape, he only wears shorts.
Yeah.
And you don't have
for
to
it.
have a $2,000 saddle and a $20,000 horse. This is the sport for everyone.
Right.
Everyone. Anybody's horse that gets ridden a few times a week can do a 25-mile ride.
Exactly.
As long as they ride smart. You don't want to go out there and try to top 10 or win your first few races. You gotta be,
well, that's the
be
biggest
smart.
mistake that new people make, is they think they're just going to run the whole way. Pacing is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
So talking about that a little bit, Julia, give us a quick rundown on how you started riding, and then we'll get into some dynamic of endurance.
I started riding really young as well, and then my parents put me in a lesson program hoping that I wouldn't get hooked. And I did, of course, and that was English lessons. And then in the summers, we would be in Washington State. We lived in England much of my childhood, but in the summers we'd be in Washington State. And my grandparents always leased me an Arab quarter horse cross, and they would drop me off at 7, 8 in the morning at the barn and pick me up when it was dark, and we just headed into the mountains. And now I can't go anywhere without a water bottle. I don't think I had lunch or a water bottle.
Or a helmet.
Oh no, I didn't have a helmet or saddle. We were bareback, and
Yeah.
I probably rode again 20 to 30 miles. We went up. We dodged the quicksand. My most memorable day ever. I came up to the top of a mountain with 3 other friends. Kids were all bareback. One of them was in a halter. Like, we just rode. And I mean, we're up in the Cascades, and then we looked down, and a mountain lion crossed the trail, and then above us an eagle flew.
Oh, wow.
And for me, that was
You were hooked.
yeah. I am riding all day, and I've always loved to ride all day.
Yeah, me too.
So
Yeah.
the longer the ride, the better.
So for me, I grew up with mules, and we were always trail riders. And I have still this gorgeous Arabian gelding that I've spent 20 years wanting to do endurance on him, and I didn't do it. And now he's 23 this year, almost 24. And I didn't do endurance on him. And I purchased a mule 2 years ago, and she has 1,000 miles. And I got the chutzpah together this summer and I entered my first ride, and I did my first ride, and I was hooked. And then I came to Jen's ride with Julia, and so, you know, literally when people say, well, you have to have this or that, or my equine can't do it, I mean, we're doing it on mules, and they're doing a great job. So it is something for everybody, no matter what kind of equine you ride. There are some obviously that are better suited to it, and some maybe perhaps don't excel at it, and some have a harder time finishing. But a lot of it is what you put into your equine. And like you were talking offline, Linda, is you were saying something like, well, I have 30,000 miles of competition, but hundreds of thousands of miles of conditioning. Yesterday, Julie and I were at the track trotting our 10-mile, you know, we're trying to do 10 miles a week at the track, trotting. And
Footing's great.
yeah, and it's the winter in Wyoming.
Right.
You know, it's
right.
hard to ride. It's cold. It was 25-mile-an-hour wind, and we're like, well, as long as it's not 50.
50-mile-an-hour winds.
It blows Julie off her mule. So speak to a little bit. And Jen, you started to go into it. You know, you don't have to have this specialized high octane Arab. Although I'm so sad that I never did it with mine. But you know, just going through, Linda, like you were also talking about, is the conditioning, like before you go into an event, like the commitment you make to your equine, so that you can have a successful outcome, and what it takes.
Well, it takes, I feel, interval training, which means you'll have some fart laps. You know, you're going really
speed play.
Yeah. But then you'll also just have a lot of just trotting or nice, easy loping. Walking is surprisingly a great conditioning for the horse, but you've got to do it for hours, you know.
Yeah, long, slow distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if your horse doesn't have a good walk, so I always used a lot of hip motion to get mine to make sure that they were fast walkers. And now that I'm old and I want to ride with my friends, my mares outwalk everybody else's horses, you know, because that's the way they were trained, is to get into a 4 to 5 mile an hour walk.
Yeah.
And but trotting, you know, which probably is why I had to have knee replacements eventually here in my old age. But you're just going to put in a lot of miles, and long, slow conditioning is the best. If you have a hill or a mountain around, that's the way to do it. I luckily bought a ranch up here in Fort Collins, right next door to Laurie State Park. And Laurie State Park here in Fort Collins has 100 miles of trails. I even have what I call the Tevis Trail up at Laurie State Park. So if any of you want to really condition on a trail that is as good as the Tevis, if not tougher, it's right up here in Laurie State Park. And Karen Crone, who was the world champion when it was held in Vermont, she used the conditioning up there. So if you guys are from Wyoming, you trailer down like Karen did, because she lived in Cheyenne. And she would trailer down. She won the worlds with, you know, by conditioning up there. So I have a ranch up there, and that's where I conditioned. And, you know, I would just trot the horse up 3-4 miles, and then walk him down. You never trot downhill until you're at a ride. So you save your horse's legs on the downhill. But you walk downhill, but you can trot up the hill. That's for conditioning.
Yeah. I use interval training a lot. And I have a lot of times people ask me, how do I get my horse fit? And, just ride it. The minimum I recommend, what I found to work, is 2 short rides a week and 1 longer ride.
Right.
And most people can do a 5-mile ride, especially if, if they're trotting. That's an hour. You can go ride an hour a couple of times a week and then go on Saturday or Sunday and do your long ride.
Exactly.
So it's not so difficult. People think, endurance, I don't have time to keep my horse fit. Well, you're riding it anyway. Just ride it with purpose. And
if you rode your horse every day, your horse would be tired out before the ride.
Yeah, over conditioning is a problem.
It
is. Yeah, people underestimate the value of rest and feel guilty if they're not riding enough, when rest is best. It's
Thank you.
very important.
I agree.
So I have a mentor outside of Julia, the man I bought my mules from, TJ Edwards. And I think TJ has around 10,000 miles is what, you looked him up.
I think so,
it's right around 10,000 miles. And so he was saying, for every 10 miles of competition is 1 day off.
That's right.
And that was kind of a philosophy. And literally when I bought these mules, I'm only endurance riding one, but he gave me everything. I just took copious notes. But there are so many little things, from electrolytes and conditioning. And one thing that I think people need to look at horses differently than people. If you think about eating before you go swimming, you don't want to do that. You're going to get a stomachache. But endurance is not. Horses aren't people, but also when we stop working out or we stop moving our body, we fall out of shape really quickly. Horses don't.
Yeah.
They are natural athletes.
Yep.
They have to be. What if that mountain lion is coming after you? They got to be able to run fast for as long as it takes to get away.
Yeah.
So people will say, I think that's cruel to ride that far. I said, that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, even in wild Mustangs, I mean, you'll take a baby foal. And Clinton Anderson was talking about this on his podcast the other day, where they have, wild Mustangs in Australia, and you take a baby foal and they will roam the first week of their alive, sometimes 20 miles a day.
Right.
And that baby foal has to keep up with that mare and her herd, or she's in jeopardy, right? Or he, whatever, the foal. And so they're made to move.
Right.
God designed them to move.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think also maybe we talk a little bit about taking your pasture horse. Okay, what does the training program look like? So let's say, right now it's January. Our first ride is Moab. So we're shooting to ride Moab. We're going to do that ride. Jen's now coming.
I hope so.
She's coming. And we are signing up for the 3 consecutive 30s. Well, I think one day might be 25. It's like a 30, 25, 30. So what we have tried to do is, keep our equines in condition, but walk us through, if you were preparing for this ride, ladies, what you would, Julia, you can talk about, hey, this is what we're doing first person. Then you ladies can give us some maybe advice on what you would do to make sure, hey, how do we get that pasture horse in January ready for a ride mid-April for an LD?
Well, and we've been lucky this year. We're
mild weather.
Still able to ride, and we can always ride close to Buffalo, but the bighorns are difficult to ride in even now with the snow, and we live right up against the bighorns. But what I've been doing is the 10-mile trot a week, and then one other ride when I can that's just long walking. But in the summers, if I'm conditioning one up, I usually would add a dressage day. So I have kind of like a hills long walking day, a trotting day, and a dressage day. So that to me is my favorite. I guess my groundwork, we're really on a groundwork binge right now. And so we have some young ones and some naughty ones. So I feel like the groundwork kind of counts as the dressage day. But I haven't always been able to get in my long, slow walk day, my longer ride day with the weather and the wind. But we have been really good about getting that trot in. And they're fit. So we've kept the fitness that they attained in September, October, and we've kept that.
I am in a different place than that because I had shoulder replacement surgery in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not ridden yet. And so my horse has gained probably 200 pounds. And so how you get your horse fit really depends on its base.
Yeah.
My horse has been competing for 4 years, and he's 8 years old. And
Do you want me to help you with that?
he has a really good base, but he's been sitting for months.
And this is Gambler.
Yeah, Gambler.
Yeah.
He's a Kentucky Mountain saddle horse. So speaking to, you don't have to have an Arabian because,
Yeah.
he's a gaited horse that isn't supposed to be able to do endurance, and he's fantastic at it. He can do. He's done 5 days in a row, 5 LDs in a row, 2 years in a row. He's a accomplished 50-mile horse. So I'm hopeful I can do a 75 on him this year, but
Yeah.
we'll have to see if my shoulder can handle that.
Oh, it's under
distance.
her leash. Here, if you want to let go of her
Oh,
leash, that's what it
sorry.
is. Sorry. I'm fixing the dog collar. Sorry. Okay, here we go. We got the dog free. Okay.
So with Gambler, what I will do is I'm going to do a lot of walking. You never increase speed and distance on the same ride.
Okay.
So if you have a horse like him that's been sitting, or maybe one that's just in the pasture, 2 days in a row or two rides in a row, you would want to give a day of rest, but you would do a 10 mile and you time it, because it's important that you keep records of, did I go faster? Because you don't want to go faster and longer. You can go faster or longer, but not both on the same ride. So I will just, do my 10-mile loop and see how long it took me. And the next time I'll add a little speed, and I'll be careful for my trotting intervals because, he's a gaited horse, my gaited intervals, because I want to let him come back slowly. If you have a horse that hasn't had months off, then you're ahead of where I'm at with him, because I've got to pull that weight off of him. And he's just eating a diet balancer. He's not getting any kind of, he's just winter fat.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would love to go to Moab, and if I do, I will only do the LDs on him because he's been sitting for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, conditioning depends upon how you want to ride, too.
Yes, it does.
I mean, if you think you're out for the win, you're going to have to train harder than somebody. Everybody can finish a ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion, everybody that enters can finish a ride if you ride the way you've been training.
Yeah. That's a common mistake I see. People
Yes.
get super competitive on race day, and they ride faster than they condition, and they get
Exactly.
metabolic pull.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I sold my babies, I made sure I trained my people, because people are the failure, not the horses, the people.
Yeah.
And so you have to train them to be, sensible. And I would say your first year, you can't win. I don't even want you doing anything except for completing and finishing,
Yeah.
because now you're building the horse and you're building yourself.
Yeah.
You have to learn what you have to do for each ride, and you have to ride accordingly. If you're riding mountains, then you better train mountains. If you're riding desert, when I went to the Pan American Games in Manitoba, Canada, they told me this is the largest sand dune in Canada. So where I have my place in Aurora, we have a sand river bottom.
So that's where you trained.
So I trained just going around and around in that deep sand out there.
Yeah.
And one of our team was riding a mule, and he won the Tevis.
Won it?
Yep.
That's impressive.
But when he hit the sand dunes, he got pulled.
Oh.
So you have to know what you've trained for, what the animal works well at, and I would get out. Actually, I'd go out 3 nights a week at 10 o'clock at night, and I'd ride until 12 or 1 in the morning in the dark, knowing if I'm doing 100 in big competition, I'm going to have some nighttime riding. So then I'd just trot. I had my course set up on the sand in Aurora, and yeah, I was first time, in a pressure situation like that, I never considered myself elite like the people I was riding with. So, I finished 15th in the world.
Wow.
And that was a shock for me. It was a shock for my team, that was helping me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But again, I rode like I had trained, and trotting mostly in that deep sand, and then walking up those steep, sand mountains, and then,
Yeah.
So many people, like at one point of that, we called it the lollipop loop. You went up a stick, and then you went around and came back down. And the East team had 9 people, and I met them at the bottom of the lollipop. They were coming in, but all of them got pulled as soon as they got in. They were going too fast in that deep sand.
Yeah, there's a saying in endurance, speed kills, distance does not.
Right.
So if you ride smart, you can finish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what when I did my first ride, I just took my mule and me, and I didn't know anybody there. And it was very intimidating. And I had a woman look at me and she's like, Kristy, you're on a mule. They have an incredible sense of self-preservation. Just get on her and go. She's going to know the job. I am so lucky that I was riding a mule that knew the job, because I was literally on her back and horses had zoomed by me, and we found ourselves in this like mid place, and she hit her pace, and that's what we rode. And I got very fortunate. She knew how to take care of herself. She knew how to eat. She knew how to drink, because I didn't know anything.
She taught you.
She showed me what.
But you had to listen.
Yes.
See, and that's what a lot of riders don't do, is listen to their horse, or remember what their training was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually the man I bought her from said, here's her average mile an hour pace. This is where you want to keep. Don't go faster than that. It needs to take you at least 4.5 hours to complete the ride. If you go faster than that, you're overriding her. And he was very strict on, giving me like the rundown, and I had OnX on my phone, and I was tracking my pace, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I just started trotting, and honestly, I'd never trotted 25 miles in my life.
Right. How'd you feel at the end of it?
Oh, so it's really funny. And I caught up to a woman, and I wish I could remember her name. I think is Bonnie. And she made the last cover of the AERC magazine.
The gal that retired.
The gal that retired.
Bonnie Switek.
Bonnie, yes. So
she's on a mare I bred.
Oh.
So Bonnie, I caught up with Bonnie, and I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Can I ride with you? And I just followed her, and I just listened to everything she was saying. And it was amazing, because I learned so much from watching Bonnie. And it was great, because here she is on the cover of the magazine. She's 83 years old or 80 years old and retiring. And I'm in the background. It was my first ride, my first day. And it's like, that's really what this sport is about, is paying it forward. And if Bonnie can do it at 80, I can do it. But I was so sore the next day. My calves, I'm like, how in the world did Bonnie do this yesterday? Like, she is unbelievable. She just trotted 25 miles on her Arabs, and I'm younger and fit, and I did this ride, and I am so sore. And I got on my mule, and I was like, oh my gosh, Cora, I'm so sorry, we have to do this again today. But it's really a sport that really anybody, you do have to have some level of fitness, and you do not want to underestimate these riders out there, because they are athletes. Like we're discounting how much athleticism you had in yourself and your horse probably. And it does take, conditioning and training, but I had never done it. But you can go out and do it. You might be really sore.
Really sore.
You might not be able to do double deckers. Like, you might not walk the next day, but you can do it. Especially if you train in advance, you be,
But that soreness is a sense of pride for me. It's like, I worked so hard, and yes, I have to use the handicap restroom, but
afterwards.
You have rigor mortis when you get out of your truck to get gas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when you go downstairs, you back down the stairs.
Yeah.
You don't go
That's a
front
good
ways.
tip. Great tip.
So I did my first 50 at a midnight ride. And you started at 7 p.m. and you had till 7 a.m. to finish. And I did.
Cougar Prowl?
It was called Midnight Madness. It was in Oklahoma many years ago. And I seriously thought I was going to die. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, just someone bring a shovel, and this is my resting place. And I remember being at the awards that were in the morning, and I said, I cannot imagine only being half done, because that was my meter. It's like I would have to do that again
to do 100.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I asked a man who had done hundreds, I said, how do you ever get to, where you don't think you're going to die? And he goes, well, you just push through that, and then it, that you just hurt that same amount. Like, you don't. So when I finished my first 100, I expected like balloons, a marching band, a newspaper article, and it was one vet at 4:30 in the morning, and that was it. Like, wow.
Yeah.
But it was, it's a highlight.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Julia is like, okay, I did my 5-mile walk today. She sends me these videos and she's taking her horses on walks like a dog.
Yeah.
She's walking and yoga and all the
but
things.
Getting the human in shape is harder than getting the horse in shape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Humans are not the fit animals. Horses are.
Yeah. And I have many times used my workouts. My motivation for my workouts is I'm doing this for my horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, if
absolutely.
you're doing it for yourself, you'll cheat yourself, but
Yeah.
you won't cheat your horse.
No. And if you want to be doing it at 80 or 90, it's like, that's my motivation. I'm 61 now, and I want to do this ride as many years as I can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll do the ballet bar class, the yoga, the hike, the swim, all the things. I'm just so motivated to be fit so I can ride.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She was the other day, she wants to go, she's like, let's go trot 10 miles. I'm going to go bareback. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
The answer to that is yes.
Like, what?
Yes, you want to trot bareback.
I'm like, number one, I don't want to ride with you bareback because if my equine does something dumb and you fall off,
Can't help you.
I'm like, what? Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to go
It was on
bareback.
Floki.
So did you do that?
No.
No.
I protested. I'm like, this is not.
Yeah.
But he's an Icelandic. They're best
Yeah.
bareback.
Well,
I guess.
and they're not that tall.
That's what she
He
said.
is
If he starts
13
bucking, you can
hands.
stand up.
I just slide. I hop off whenever I want. It's
Yeah.
really easy.
Yeah.
So coming as a newbie, like I did my first 2 limited distance rides this year, and I did back-to-backs, 25s and back-to-backs 30s.
And that's what Cora's always done, which I think
she's always
is
done
neat.
back-to-back, yeah. And
They did that when they started her. For 2 years, she did that.
yeah, back-to-backs, and she won best vet condition both days in a row on our first rides. So that was awesome, and I wish I would have really appreciated then what it means. Like,
Yeah,
it's
you didn't know how hard it was.
Yeah.
No.
Right? I've
No.
had it once.
Well, I didn't get best condition. It was vet, the
High vet.
high
Vet,
vet,
yeah.
high vet.
I
Yeah.
had it once.
So, yeah, it was really an honor. But let's talk about like moving from. Okay, here's kind of some training ideas for going from that LD. It's really accessible for most equines to be able to complete a ride if you use the full ride time and you walk where you have to, trot where you can, and lope when it feels right. If you keep that pace, you take good care of your animal, you're likely going to finish. Let's talk about the difference in mentality moving into like a 50. Because this year, Cora's never done 50s. I've clearly never done 50s. And that's our goal. And with a mule, it will be a conversation mentally to see.
Well, that's what I was just going to
Yeah.
say. The whole thing is mental.
Yeah.
And you have to go into it thinking, oh, yay, I've already done 15 miles when you come into your first
Yeah.
vet check. You
Yeah.
know? Oh, don't think about, oh, gosh, I got to go 50. No,
Yeah, it's
look,
one loop at a time.
one loop at a time. And then, oh, this is so fun. I would have already been done, but look at how much more fun I can have.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
love
all,
her.
it's all mental.
Yeah.
And it's not thinking the negative side, like, oh God, I only have 25 and I have to do 25
Yeah.
more. You just think of it in
Yeah.
layers, and each one gets more exciting.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out for people who do move up to a 50 is the first one's going to hurt.
Oh gosh.
You're going to be so excited to do it again. That's the craziness of it. And it gets easier. So I know some people who have only done 150 and they said, I was too sore, I can't do it. I'm like, the next one's easier.
Well,
Like-
and you got to have not the quitter mind.
Right. You have to be
You
tough.
have to think, oh, I did a 50.
Yeah.
Oh, by the next one I can do better because I'm going to beat my time by 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So don't quit after your first one if you give it a try and it's hard, because I'm going to tell you right now, it is hard.
Right.
But the second one's not. And the 10th one's easy.
Right.
And, before I had my injury, 75 miles was my favorite. It was my Goldilocks distance. Hundreds were still hard for me. 50s were too easy. And remember, I'm the girl who cried on the 25. So you just build up to it and you get stronger. And there's not really a way to simulate riding and build your strength except just to ride. So just don't quit and believe in yourself and trust your horse, and you can do it. But fitness wise, if you can move up to a 50, if it's easier for yourself if you don't race 25s, because if you go at any horse can run for 25 miles, but
Right.
they cannot for 50.
Right.
So if you taught your horse, this is a race, we're going to win, you're probably not going to finish your 50. But if you begin in the sport with, I want a 50-mile horse, and you teach it that it's not a race, that you're just riding all day, you have a much increased chance of finishing, and you avoid the race brain. Because
Right.
as a horse trainer, I have had people bring me horses and say, my horse has race brain, and I won't even touch it, because the amount of work that goes into fixing race brain
Right.
when it's so easy to prevent it.
So talk about that. What do you ladies do to prevent race brain?
I start 5 minutes late on a young horse. So on your mark, get set, go is off the table. They're gone. My horse is at the trailer. I walk up and give my number. And then, so my horse thinks we're at a trail ride.
They don't know that there's other horses.
Right. And I walk for 10 minutes. And then I do a nice easy trot, and my horse thinks that it's, it doesn't understand that it's a race. If they're relaxed at the start, you've already won. Because, if you get on and you're like, I'm going to go out with the front runners on day one, congratulations, you have a 25-mile horse.
Well, and you also have, if the ride manager says, okay, we're going to have a walkout
Controlled start.
a
Yeah.
controlled start.
That's what we had at my first ride, was a walkout.
And it's the best thing you can do. But
Yeah.
now you can put your horse right up in front because he's walking out. And then when people start passing you, he's already relaxed and listening to you. So, I've never waited like you did, but I've tried to do it like a controlled start.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, what works for one horse doesn't always work for another too. So that's where riding your horse a lot,
Right.
you get to know your horse
You know
a lot,
your horse.
and you have an emotionally fit horse, and then you can do 50. So when I
Whoa. Emotionally fit horse.
it's not nervous,
Okay.
it's not anxious, it eats well, drinks well, eats on trail, it's comfortable with its relationship with you, and it's not nervous. It's not,
And we actually taught our horses McDonald's. That's called fast food.
Oh yeah.
Let
Grab
them
and
take
go.
a bite, grab and go,
Yeah.
grab and go. We call it McDonald's fast food.
I trail ride some too, and people will say, you shouldn't let your horse eat with a bit in the mouth. And I'm like, okay, honey, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You ride your horse 50 miles and don't let it eat. And then
can
tell
have
me
a
again
yeah.
that I can. and the old wives' tale is, don't let a hot horse drink.
Yeah.
Oh,
wrong.
that's wrong. Let your hot horse drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to go on, too,
yeah.
especially. You don't not let your horse drink and then think you're going to let it just drink in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you want it to tank up every single chance you get because you are moving on.
Yeah.
Julia took her bit off at Black Hills off her mule. You rode
Yeah.
with a halter.
And Meadow, that was her first ride that we did, but she was a little anxious and she just wasn't eating. But normally when we trail ride and we'll climb 5,000 feet and ride 20 miles, I let her eat all along because we're always training for endurance.
Yep.
But she didn't want to eat with her bit in. And so I slipped off her bit and rode her in her halter in a first ride, which I feel like is a good sign. And then she ate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my horses only ride in hackamores. So what I do is I always started them in a snaffle. And once I had the yielding and the brakes. You do want brakes.
Yep.
Yes, you do.
So then I'd put them into a hackamore. They were so comfortable, you know. And I had always ridden with a Sleister hackamore. The old man that made them is passed away now, but they're considered severe. But they never had to be severe. But if I needed those brakes, I had them.
So talk a little bit about conditioning for a 50. How is that if it is different than a 25?
No, it's just a little further. So if you ride sensibly, any horse can go from a 25 onto a 50. It's the people that, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm sore. I'm this, I'm that. You know, normally the horse, if you're not giving him the positive feedback, I'll give you one example. My daughter, she was a junior and she was riding with her friend with me on a ride. And they kept getting further and further behind. And I said, what is the matter with you? We're just bored back here. And I said...
And the horse goes slower and slower.
Slower and slower and slower. And so I said, all right, we're stopping right here. I want you guys to change your attitude. I want you to say, oh, I think there's a mountain lion behind us. And I want you to start puffing up and talking like
energy.
Oh God! As soon as they gave the horses perked up, their ears went up. They were walking good. They were trotting good. There was no more lagging behind. But when they were bored and they're tired and they don't really want to be out here because it's not fun anymore. As soon as they changed their attitude, the horses felt it too. So you never have to say to your horse, hey, we're doing a 50 today. Like I said, you got to be excited at each vet check because you're not done yet. Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, getting your money's worth that day.
Exactly.
So on a conditioning side, if your horse will do a 30, what you're saying is they're plenty capable of a 50. It's your mental state that is the difference.
Yeah. My first 100 was Tevis because I won the entry when I went to the AERC convention. I had no intentions of ever riding Tevis after I lost that Tevis mare. I just was never going to do it ever again.
And you finished.
And I went to the Tevis, had no idea what I was up against. My horses had only done 50s. And, in fact, it was a 6-year-old gelding.
Oh,
my
so
goodness.
that's not even old enough to do 100 now.
No, well, yeah, 6.
I thought it was 7.
No,
No,
I think it's
4
6.
for a 25,
Oh,
5
okay.
for a 50, and 6 for a 100.
Okay.
But I'd been doing 50s, you know, and then I win that stupid entry. Well,
and the rest is history.
and the rest was
And you took
history.
15th?
No, not
That
on
was in the
That
world.
was
Oh.
that was the Pan American Games. But no, I finished with 10 minutes to spare of 24 hours. But again, I just knew I had to finish.
To finish is
But-
to win.
But walked a lot. And they say, oh, you got to trot when you can trot. Well, there isn't a lot of places to trot, you know, if you were riding the way I rode. You know, the winners, they would take things that I didn't want to take at the time. So, you know, but you had 24 hours and I did it in 23 and 50 minutes. But I got it done. And then after that, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. But again, you have to keep that attitude because it's your attitude that transfers to the horse.
Yeah.
We've been studying that. Like,
Yeah.
Julie and I, we're obsessed with coaching. She has 2 coaches. I have 2 coaches that I'm working with on different things. But so much of everything that we're doing is energy and mindset and how it even, we went on a ride yesterday with another person and this gentleman is big energy. And when he got on the track, all of our mules were like, what is going on? Like,
I had to get off Meadow.
Yeah, she had to
and
get
Meadow
off.
is solid.
Like, the
Meadows
energy
was
was
popping.
exploding out of this human. And all of our mules are like, what what the world? Like, but you're right. They wake up with us also.
Exactly.
Like, there's some horses you put a rider on them and the horse is a nervous wreck. Was because all this energy is coming out of this human and it's foreign to them. So we really do have a lot to do with what goes on in between the ears of our equine.
You have everything to do. I had a gentleman fly in from California because I won't sell a horse over the internet. You have to actually come to my house physically because I want to see if you're a match.
Yeah.
And this horse had done Tevis. And this guy rode like a pile of caca. And the horse wouldn't hardly move. You know, he wanted it to go and he's doing this, you know. And the horse is going, no, nobody's ever ridden me like that, you know.
Yeah.
And yet his wife, who is an excellent dressage rider, who had bought 3 horses from me in the past, had done Tevis and everything, but she was a beautiful rider with her. So she climbed on the horse, walked, trot, canter on its leads, did everything. He'd climb up there and the horse just stood there like, no, not going. So you can have the most athletic animal, but if the person isn't right, they know it.
That just makes me think my story with Meadow, I got her from a lion hunter, and he had her for 3 years, and he was disappointed because she didn't charge off trail over rocks and chase, and he's like, I don't even think she knows what the word lope is. You know, she's just too slow and quiet. And so we ended up with a trade. I traded with a mule that launched me to the ceiling, and it was a bad deal. But we had a trade, and I disclosed the buck, of course. I disclose it to anyone who wants to talk about it because it was still the biggest buck of my life. But Meadow at our house, she leads the pack string, and she's an endurance, an LD mule.
Right.
And she is proud, she has this amazing presence now because she fits into what we're doing, and she loves it.
Right.
So when you have that, when you find what they enjoy, and then, you know, I'm just so thrilled with her. She just gets better every ride.
Right. But they have to know that. They have to know you're thrilled, too. You know, she probably didn't get that from the lion hunter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right. They wanted something faster,
or she
quicker.
doesn't want anything. She maybe wanted somebody to be enthusiastic with her.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So back to the how to move up from LDs to 50s. The first step to set yourself up for success, like you can take a horse into a 50, and if you ride smart enough, you'll finish. But you want to. It's such an effort that you want to increase your chances for success, and the way you do that is back-to-back LDs, which you've already done.
Yeah.
So if you came to me and you said, you know, hey, what are your tips and tricks to get through a 50? It's ride one loop at a time. You know, don't even let it get into your brain that, oh, I've gone 25 miles and I'm only half done. It's I have a 25-mile loop that you did. And then you have a 15-mile loop. Well, you know you can ride 15 miles. You just rode 25. And then the last loop is 10 miles.
I only have 10 miles
Only 10
to
miles.
go.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a training ride.
Yeah, it's a training ride.
Yeah. So, but in my experience, most of my miles are in Texas where it's 107 and during the day and humid and 100 at midnight. And the heat got to me. So in that situation, the second loop was really a mental challenge for me. Like I questioned my sanity many times when it was so hot. And then, you know, I moved to South Dakota and it's not hot. And now I just fly through the second loop. So, but you know, some people don't like cold, and I'm a person who doesn't like heat. So
Same.
You know, if you try it somewhere and it's hot, don't think that you suck or you can't do it. You just maybe need to do it in a better climate, because temperature really affects you. You know, you have to,
And your equine.
yeah, you have to really be careful with your own electrolytes and your horse's electrolytes, and nutrition, you know, is super important. So,
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So, I'm just going to tell you, like, TJ coached me. He said, this is what I did with Cora. The Wednesday before the ride, electrolytes in her feed. Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning of your ride in applesauce, and then at the end of the day again. And that's what I stuck with on the back-to-backs that I did last year. Now, we listened to another veterinarian do an AERC conference, and they said, don't pre-electrolyte, just do them on Saturday. And I'm like, well, boy, I did that the way TJ told me to do it because he has 10,000 miles and Cora performed well. So I'm like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But there's all of these opinions out there. What has worked for all of you ladies now that, like, I've shared what I tried, but I have so little experience, right?
Well, first of all, my horses only get grass hay. Okay. Luckily, here in Colorado, lots of grass hay. But 2 to 3 days, whichever one I could get right, if I'm going or not going, I feed a flake of alfalfa because Susan Garlinghouse, one of the best nutritionists in the country, said that will bring the calcium up that they need during a ride. And if you wait too long, you want to give this, and it brings calcium availability, apparently. Anyway, so I always give a flake of alfalfa 2 or 3 days each feeding before a ride. But then I feed beet pulp. She was the one that turned me on to beet pulp. Now that hydrates the cells, but it takes 3 months of doing your beet pulp every day to get your cells at a maximum hydration. You put some senior or something in there just to make it even more palatable, because people think, oh, beet pulp, it's got the sugar. No, it's the byproduct after they've taken the sugar out.
Unless you get the molasses added one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't do that. But so I just get the regular beet pulp pellets and soak them all night and feed them. So if the horse is well hydrated, you don't need to give a lot of, I do the applesauce electrolytes the night before.
Okay.
Just the night, not all day or days before, just the night before, and then I do it every single vet check.
So in Texas, we had to preload electrolytes because it
you have the heat, humidity.
Yeah. So, a lot of it depends on where you're going to ride. Like if you're a mountain region rider and you're going to go down to Texas and you don't preload your electrolytes, you're sabotaging yourself.
Well, and that's what I didn't say, is that depends upon where
you live.
Yeah.
Where you live.
So I always preload electrolytes, but I have noticed that when I move to a better climate, that I don't use near as many as I did in Texas. Like you can read on the jar like how much you're supposed to give, and it says different levels for different heat and so in Texas I use maximum, here I use minimum. But I went to a Minnesota ride and it was really uncharacteristically hot. So I was glad I had the little tools and I knew how to get through a heat ride, because you never know when you're gonna. We ride in the rain, we ride in the snow, we ride we ride in all conditions. So you really have to keep track of the weather and have a plan and stick to it with some reason, because you're gonna have to make modifications. If your horse isn't drinking, what do you do? If it won't eat, what do you do? And knowing your horse, and my 100-mile horse wouldn't eat on the first hold, and I knew that. And I used to stress about it, and then I was like, well, that's just how he is, and he finishes fine, so I quit worrying about it. So a lot of it is individual horses and knowing your horse and knowing, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's true. So I would say you should preload depending on the weather conditions.
Julia, anything to add to that?
No, I've typically done, because I guess I followed Susan Garlinghouse too. I've done the night before, the morning, and then every vet hold. But in Texas, there were many rides where I did every hour.
Yeah.
I mean,
see,
so
you do
hot.
have to look at where you're at.
Yeah.
I rode Texas one time, and that was heat, humidity, and bugs, and I said, I'm never going back.
What ride was it?
I don't remember. I put it out of my mind. It was
It was trauma.
It was trauma.
It is.
Yeah.
I remember January a few years ago in Texas, it was 98 degrees, and it shouldn't have been. And it was awful. I got hyponatremia because I overdrank. I got so sick. We finished, but I was dizzy afterwards. I didn't know people's names.
Yeah.
It's like, Yeah.
Well, Julia also brings, she's like a carrot giver and treats. So, like on the trail, she has carrots and apples, and she's giving it to her mules. And then, one thing I've been very fortunate with Cora is if we're walking, that mule is looking for something to eat.
Yeah.
She doesn't waste a walk. She's like, oh, we're walking. This means I can be eating.
That's
and
great.
that is something that, the equines have to learn. I mean, and I don't know, Julia was trying to teach Meadow, her mule, the word grass. So she'd see grass. She'd try to like cue her up and use a clicker and right? I mean, like try
now
to
she
train
knows
her.
it. I clicker trained grass. So
To try to encourage her to eat and drink. And, that's one thing that's so important is like when we get to these water stations, the etiquette that goes into, when someone stopped and they're drinking and their horse is drinking, not rushing in
Yeah.
and like pushing their horse off the water or crowding their horse at water, is holding your horse back, allowing the person to drink, then coming in and drinking. If your horse is itching their face on the water tank and they're jacking around, get them out of there.
Yeah.
Like there's
Right.
other riders that their horses also want to drink. And also if you're the last person at the water and everybody takes off and leaves you and then you have dismounted to go to the bathroom so you can't get back on, it's also, learning as that group, like, hey, wait for the person, make
Well,
sure they're okay.
It's like a gate.
Yeah.
You don't open the gate and then let yourself through and let everybody else get the gate. No. You hold the gate, but then everybody better wait for
yeah.
you.
That's right, to
While
get back
you
on.
close, get back on, and then you leave again.
Yeah.
And boy, you will get ostracized very fast.
Yeah.
You make the wrong judgments there too. So water tanks and gates.
Yeah.
It's really important. And then, Jen, are you doing anything special on the alfalfa? Are you doing the alfalfa also? Because I didn't do alfalfa before. I did a complete feed. Well, I have a baby cake mix that I feed my old ones that has alfalfa in it and a beet pulp, and it's a mix. I get it wet, and I was doing that with a complete feed and a high fat. It's a 22% fat pellet for Cora starting Wednesday before. Are you guys doing any? I mean, what is the mash that you're feeding at rides? And because mine will only eat so much, and then they're like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
No, mine's pure beet pulp and whatever I've added into it. I used to do, like I said, you can do senior, you can do any kind of a sweet feed mix, so I would do all those different. It didn't matter what mix I put in there, but the beet pulp hydrated is what they really want. They want that soupy.
Yeah, I use beet pulp, and I also put a little bit of carbs in it. I put a little bit of oats in it because those are, easy to replace carbohydrates, and it's a great energy source. And then I put a high fat food in it too. And I had a horse that wouldn't eat his regular food, and you don't want to just adjust foods abruptly because then you get
Colic
starch in
potential.
the hindgut, colic. So I would bring something very similar but different, and they would eat it. So I have
That's true.
some random food in there that they think is
A big treat.
their neighbor's
Something
food.
new.
Oh, I'm stealing
Yeah.
it, so I want it.
I love that.
So I do beet pulp soaked, a little bit of oats, and then probably equal amount of beet pulp as I do the feed, because horses run on fat. They're fat adapted, and so you could really store glycogen and get a horse that's fit to continue and metabolically sound by adding extra fat. I went to Texas A&M and I studied nutrition there, and I was learning all this stuff, totally oblivious that I would ever use it again, because I didn't
At the
do it.
level you are.
I didn't do endurance in college. I still thought you had to be an Olympian to do it. So a lot of it, when I started doing endurance, I was like, I learned about this. My physiology professor said this, and my equine nutrition professor said this. So it ended up really giving me a leg up on nutrition and keeping a horse going for 18 years.
And you do diets for people for their
Yeah.
horses. So if people
We
need
should
help,
consult with
Yeah.
you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be calling you because I'm moving up to 50s this year. And
Yeah.
you know, just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. That was one thing. It was really stressful for me at my first ride because, you know, thankfully I had TJ.
Yeah.
Okay, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. And I had these copious notes that I took. But my gut sounds when I first got there were a B. And TJ's like, oh, this is so bad. If she gets to a C, you're going to be out. You're not going to be able to ride. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I'm like stressing. I'm trying to get Cora to eat because we drove all this way. And I'm like, tell the vet, I'm like, oh, we're a B. I have to recheck in an hour. And I go back to the vet and we were to an A after she'd eaten. So, I mean, so much of what we're doing has to do with how their stomach is functioning. And then you just don't know what you don't know when you head into that ride. And if I would have known a little bit more, I would have gotten there probably the day before,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
better.
Julia and I are goaling for that this year, is we can get a day before, and that way they get a full belly, they're settled, they're not traveling.
We've gone on a ride.
And, you know, they do a 6 or 8 hour, 10 hour trailer ride, and you offload them and run them through a vet check. It's really hard on them.
No,
It is.
that's never if you can avoid it.
Yeah. So when you move from a 50 to 100, let's talk really quickly because I don't want to. What are we at on time here?
That's 5:40.
So let's do really quickly. Let's run from. We're doing 50s now. If you can do back-to-back LDs, you can move to 50s. What's the caveat from 50 to 100?
You.
You. Same thing, Linda. Linda's like, it's your brain. Okay.
We got this.
I know. We're doing
I did
it.
it. I think a 75 is a good step because, you know, if you can do a 75, you only have an LD after that.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to hurt, and you prepare yourself. You know, make sure you drink electrolytes, not just water.
Yeah.
You know, you need the electrolytes too.
I brought Wilderness Athlete here. They're a huge corporate friend of mine. So
Awesome.
for people. So
Yeah.
anyway.
So then you just, you know, I said the hardest part of 100 is signing up for it.
Interesting.
Do you agree with that?
I know in the Tevis entry I won, it was non-transferable. So
Oh!
I was going to sell it to anybody or give it to anybody I
Yeah.
could, and it turned out, Linda, you have to do it.
So what did you do differently, Linda, going from a 50 to your first 100, which was Tevis?
I just went slower, and I kept my mind thinking, like I told you, from check to check to check.
And you pretended a mountain lion was chasing you.
Yeah, at the end. At the end.
For the horses, I've always heard, I don't know if it's true or not and where I got this from, but a horse that's competed in 50s, maybe 3 years. Now you're ready for hundreds. Do you have that in your mind? And
Well, like
amount
I
of
said,
time for
mine
a
was
horse.
just started.
That
I just
one, yeah.
started him at 6. So
he was
He went right into it.
I
Yeah.
went right into the 50s because he was the one I was going to ride for the Pan American Games. And so, you know, I'm just going and coming in nearly last on every, but it was a 5-day multi-day too for 50s. And so, you know, just doing each day and just taking it slow and easy, and that's why it took me so long at Tevis, because I did the same slow and easy.
Yeah.
And you know, it worked. But he came in and he was still ears forward and bright, so I knew I could train him up for a faster distance for those Pan Am games, you know.
Jen, what about you? What was your breakover from 50 to 75 or 50 to 100?
I can't remember if I did a 75 first. I'd have to look, but most of mine was a personal challenge. Like I love endurance. It is so much fun. And I grew up riding, and when I am racing through the trees, I feel like I'm 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I'm going to just give this a try. And sadly, I did not finish my first 100 because the ride manager did not get glow sticks. And
Oh, you got Lost Trail.
yeah, so she wanted me to follow behind on her husband on his 4-wheeler. So I'm breathing in ATV fumes, and I was like, this is not what.
No.
I was heartbroken. Like I was like, because I did interval training for 4 months. I had done all these 50s, and I was ready, and I didn't even have a chance to finish, and it really broke my heart. I was very discouraged. But I was like, you know, I'm not going to let that defeat me. I'm going to be stubborn, and I'm going to try again. And then when I finished, it was like it's a highlight. Like I'll be 85 or 90 in a nursing home going, I did 100.
Yeah.
And I'll never, I mean, it was a very interesting 100. This is a crazy story for another day, but Border Patrol stopped me and asked if I was armed.
Oh my gosh.
And my friend that I went with was pulled, so I was out there by myself at 4 a.m, scared.
Yeah.
Because Border Patrol asked me if I had.
I think I would feel the same way.
Yeah. So he was like, just ride faster.
Were you at the New Mexico ride?
I was.
Randy Islands?
No, it was called New Mexico Desert Classic.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. But I finished, and there was no band.
Yeah. Well, I think I would just break down and cry personally from
Yeah.
joy. If just overcoming that, I was listening to all these podcasts this year, 'cause obviously Julie and I have been talking about someday 100, right? And these women riding at night is like terrifying to me.
Which is why you have to
train at night.
Yeah.
And so listening to you tell that was very empowering. Well, this year, I was listening to these podcasts with these women. They're like, well, I can't see anything on my horse. I just sit on it and we're just going and I trust my horse. Like you can't see because if you start shining too many lights, they lose their night vision. And I'm riding back elk season. I'm riding back to camp on my 3-year-old mule in the dark. I cannot see 10 feet in front of me. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to ride. And then the other one I was riding back on the dark and she's loping and trotting to keep up. And I'm like, well, this is what an endurance ride would feel like at night. And I just trusted my animals.
Yeah,
and
they can see in the dark.
they can see. And so that's another thing is I think going from that 50 to the 100 is knowing you have that many dark hours and having that relationship. So is that an important part? As I feel like it's going to be, do you have to really have confidence in your equine, or where does that play into this?
Well, the first time I rode the 100 at Tevis, the guy I was riding with, excuse me, he was the national champion 100-miler for AERC up to that point, but his horse unloaded lame.
Oh.
So he came over to me. I didn't know who he was, Roger. Anyway, I heard you brought a spare horse. I said, I did, for my pit crew to ride with me, because we got to Tevis a week before because we had to acclimatize to that heat, And so I said, well, we'll train in the heat. And so I brought him along, and he goes, I can do it on this horse. I said, this horse has only done 250s in his whole life. And he goes, that's all right. I can do it.
Did he finish?
Yeah, he finished ahead of me.
So you came home with 2 Tevis horses.
Yes, but Roger is an ultra marathoner too, so he could get off and
run.
Me,
He's a believer.
I am a rider. I am not a runner. I don't run one step of the way. So don't think you ever have to get off and run, okay? Because that is not true. But he ran 20 or 25 of the miles, but he got that horse that had only done 250s through it. But we also finished with 10 minutes to spare because we took the entire time.
So that goes back to speed kills distance, does
Exactly.
not it? Yeah.
Exactly. So just keeping that in mind. And we rode with no lights.
Yeah,
He
I
says,
prefer-
I am not going to distort this horse's vision. The next time I did it, the girls with me, oh, we can't see, we can't see. I said, just follow me. My horses will follow each other. Oh, I can't see. So I let them ride with some lights,
I got pulled at 100 because I was riding without a light, and my horse tripped, and it strained my back, and I had to RO because I didn't have a light. So I use a green light.
Right.
So
Or a red.
The best
Yeah.
way that you can get through the night ride is do a night LD. Those are so much fun. I did one this year, and it's the
Are you
hundreds
going to offer one?
Are you going to
I would-
offer one?
I would love to because I just enjoy them so much.
Hint.
But
Not in July.
yeah.
Yeah,
so
we can't make July.
We can't do
Well,
July.
the rides this year are already sanctioned. I have so I would love to do it though because it's just so much fun and the people who don't do 75s because you also ride at night in a 75 or hundreds get the experience of riding at night, and it's just crazy fun.
Yeah, I purposely threw a night ride at Owl Canyon exit right up the freeway here. And made everybody just loop around, and that's not my area. I don't even know it, but I could figure out, there's a little, track, so that I could prepare for my first night ride.
Yeah, and it's really fun. My daughter did her first 100 this year, and she doesn't like the dark, and she was riding behind an accomplished 100-mile rider. And I said, and I wasn't doing that 100, so I was her crew. And she came in off the loop, and I said, what did you think? She goes, I was doing really good until I turned around and I saw the abyss of darkness behind me. And she's 13. And so if you ask her, her name's Susan, if you say, Susan, what is the most fun thing you've ever done in your life? And she's been to Disney World. She's been to 20 states. I mean, we travel all the time. And she just beams and says the 100.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she loves it.
Goals.
And she won Mountain Region 100-mile champion. So, she has a really nice mare that's a 100-mile mare. So, it's her.
How do you determine that?
Well, the statistic is, and correct me, Linda, if you've heard differently, 1 in 10,000 horses are 100-mile horses. So,
oh boy,
you look at
I only am riding 2 right now. This is really
we need to buy more.
You look at conformation. Do they have long cannon bones, short cannon bones? Are their pasterns nice and strong? Just conformation. They have to be built right, and they have to eat on trail. They have to take care of themselves, and have the heart for it. Really just because some horses are just fierce, and I don't mean like spooky and nuts, but they're just so stoic and so just trail dragons, and they love to go. And that's, what you set yourself up for to succeed. Because if you just go, I'm going to go, I mean, some quarter horses can do it.
Yeah.
And some mules can do it. And I have a
Mustangs.
There's so there's not really like this box that a 100-mile horse comes out of, but there are things that you look for, hardiness and attitude. And also, like Linda said earlier, if you're out there and you're on mile 80 and you're going, I have 20 miles to go, you just sabotaged your horse. If you're out there going, I only have 20 miles to go, you just, you're that much closer to finishing. So,
and I went, in 2011, I had 8 customers that said, Linda, you have to go take us to the Tevis. We want to do the Tevis, and you'll be the one that gets us through.
Did you do it?
Yeah, got them all through. But
I'm doing it with you, Linda.
We're
all doing it. Come on.
One more,
Linda.
That's what they all say.
I'm not doing it with you.
Uh-oh, there's experience.
But, I just planned on being the last person, so anybody that was ahead of me, I said, if you get to a vet check and you don't think you're right or the horse isn't right, just wait for me to get there and we'll figure it out and get through it. So, again, a lot is mental. So the one gal, she goes, I know he's tired. And I said, no, you're tired.
Yeah.
And I said, what we're going to start doing? We're going to start singing. And we
that's what TJ does.
Always took an iPod and we'd sing to those songs. And I said, I didn't bring the iPod, but now you and I are going to sing a lot of songs.
We don't need a band.
And my horses did not care that I was a frog croaking up on their back there.
Yeah.
They were probably going faster to get away from you.
Well, maybe so. That's why we did it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But, you just have to change the person's mind because it wasn't the horse, it was her. And so, now it's like, okay, follow me, he'll follow me, and we're just going to start singing, Just sing loud. And I said, oh, yeah, that's the only way I know how to sing.
Karaoke later tonight.
That's right.
Well, if you hear me and Julia yelling in the mountains, you'll know why, people out there. We're trying to get through it. I am so thankful for all of your time. And I wish we didn't have to cut this so short, but we have a bingo game to get to. Linda, thank you. Jen, thank you. And of course, Julia, thank you. I feel so blessed to be in such a great community and surrounded by amazing mentors. And man, I have so many miles to go and so many adventures. And I'm buying a baby horse this year, so maybe we need to talk, Linda.
That's right. Because I'll have them.
Yeah,
I only have 2 a year now, but
Yeah.
at 3 at the most. But you know, they've never failed me.
Yeah.
I've had probably. Well, I've delivered 500 babies of my own, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so those are what I've delivered of my own, and then other people's. But you know, just I try to breed for correctness, for good minds, and you know, it doesn't have to fit in a box, but I don't care if it's big or small, you know, because then I try to find
The right rider.
the right rider. Oh, you're a little gal? Here, I've got a little mare, but she's tough as nails. And the little mare I'm talking about was a little gal and a little mare, and she came in second on her first Tevis.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, but people, oh, you know, that's such a little horse. Well, she doesn't have far to have to climb up on it.
Yeah.
And yet I've had the big ones. So it isn't a size thing. Correctness, like you said earlier, is one of the best things, you know. So you breed for those, like I said, this thoroughbred stallion I'm breeding to, he's got big old round hooves. He's got big bone. You know, he's 16'3", almost 17 hands. He's a big horse, but he doesn't look like some of the horses on the track right now.
Yeah, they've
You
changed
know,
a lot.
they've trying to breed for these skinny little legs. Oh, they don't have as much
And terrible feet.
to carry. Yeah. So, you know, I always tried to breed for correctness and minds. If I found out this horse didn't have a good mind, didn't want anything to do with that stallion.
Yeah, you have to be able to trust your horse out there in the
Right.
dark.
Yeah. Well, that's everything.
So I'm going to ask you, when you do finish your 100, it changes the relationship you have with your horse.
Right.
You guys are, I mean, it's like Avatar in real life. You become so attached to your horse. My daughter loved her mare before she did the 100. Now, she told me the other day, she's 13, and she says, Mom, I love my mare like she's my kid. So she's like, you know, and I had a horse pass away, that my double-decade hopeful horse, and she was there when he died, and she said, I'm not going to be okay when Gypsy dies.
No, nobody's okay.
Yeah,
when
nobody's
they go.
okay. But I mean, just for my daughter to have that relationship with her horse, I want to encourage the viewers to don't buy your kid the hamster, get them the horse, because what they add to your kid's life, especially a teenage girl, is worth more than any money you'll pay.
My dad always says, I don't regret a dime I spent on horses when you were growing up. He said it gave you confidence, it gave you strength, it gave you fearlessness, it gave you drive, purpose, everything that you hope for your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And I say to even customers now, I said, you know, this little 13-year-old girl, she's going to be coming into herself.
Yeah.
I said, do you want to spend the money on a horse and really doing fun things, or do you want her to find a boyfriend?
Yeah, horse is always
And
the
now
answer.
you'll be supporting grandchildren early.
That's why I don't have a boyfriend.
See?
Because I have horses. We have figured it out.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
But it's not a
I
problem that
didn't
you don't
have
have
the
a
money
boyfriend.
to go to parties and
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they have a horse.
and you had to get a job because you had to buy feed.
drink. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had to be responsible because
Yeah.
I had to take care of this horse
Yeah.
every
And you couldn't
day.
stay out all night because you had to get up and feed your horse in the
Right.
morning. So yeah,
And And I sure couldn't do drugs because I had to have a clear mind to do all those
Well, you don't
jobs.
need to do drugs if you're flying through the
I
forest.
know. It is a
That's
drug.
It
true.
is better
a
than a
drug.
drug.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Dopamine at its finest.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, I appreciate you ladies, and I appreciate all of you that have tuned into this episode. We are going to have so many more endurance podcasts this year because I'm going to narrow these ladies down individually at rides after we've completed some of these incredible accomplishments of miles with our equines. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in. You guys, thank you so much again. so grateful, and this was a lot of fun, and I wish we could talk for another hour. But bingo awaits.
Yeah. Bingo.
There are a lot of Americans that understand the value of hunting, but we all know that right now, national support of hunting is extremely volatile. It seems that with every passing day, our voice is diminished, and the court of public opinion is not effectively hearing our side. We need advocates working on our behalf in Washington, D.C. to defend our freedom to hunt. And thankfully, when we need it the most, we have that advocate in Safari Club International. SCI's world headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the United States Capitol, which means that SCI is on the ground with our congressional leaders and federal agencies on our behalf, on behalf of the hunting community. SCI has an active political presence in all 50 states through their extensive chapter network and government affairs staff. If you have ever wondered why you should be a member of SCI, you shouldn't wonder anymore. Join us in the fight to defend hunting. Go to safariclub.org to learn more. Thank you all for listening to the Wild and Uncut podcast. If you would like to hear more, be sure to not only watch, but subscribe to my Pursue the Wild digital series airing on Carbon TV and YouTube. And while you're at it, follow me at Kristy Titus on Facebook and Instagram.